Okay, so it's 5 o'clock, so I guess we can start. So, hello everyone. Maybe first let me introduce myself, because that's my my first presentation at EclipseCon ever. So I feel I should say a few words about myself. So my name is Szymon Ptaszkiewicz. I came from Poznań, from Poland. I work for IBM. In Poznań we have a office, IBM office, small office, where I lead a team of Eclipse engineers, where we support IBM products that are based on Eclipse. So not Eclipse itself, but products that are based on Eclipse. Usually these are IBM Rational products, so from the Rational brand. And apart from that, I also co-lead the platform workspace component. So for those of you who don't know, the workspace component is the component that works below the graphical user interface, and that's the level that handles any file operation that you do in your IDE. Okay, so maybe before we start, just a quick poll and a question to the audience. Do we have any committer here? Okay. Oh, okay. Quite a few of you. Okay, so actually the talk is targeted at beginners. So probably you know all this stuff that is at the presentation, but still there are a few tips and tricks at the end. So maybe it will be useful for you. Do we have any contributors? So a person who is not a committer but is a contributor. So contributed at least one patch or a Gerrit review. Okay, like 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, that's nice. So you will benefit more than committers because there will be probably more information that you can reuse after the talk. And do we have anyone who is neither a committer nor a contributor, regular user? Okay, so majority. Okay, perfect. And this is actually the talk is actually targeted at you, so regular users. In case you consider you could do something more than just using Eclipse as IDE or use Eclipse projects in your tools. In this presentation, we will try to give you an example of a roadmap, what you can do to start and how to develop your career with Eclipse. Okay, so first of all, we all use Eclipse. So as the beginning, because just as a reminder, because we all know what is Eclipse, but there are different parts of Eclipse that are usually exposed to you. Some of you use Eclipse as IDE, some of you use extend Eclipse, so you just use a framework, for example, like Equinox. Some of you only use Eclipse as a user, so you just develop your own applications for your company, for yourself. And there are different things that altogether make the Eclipse. Now, you may ask, who actually works behind the scenes to make sure that all these things are happening? Of course, this is the crew of the Eclipse Foundation. That's true. But then, what kind of people, or what kind of institutions actually make sure that we have predictable schedules, that we have vendor-neutral consortium, that we have actually hundreds of projects and new projects that are incoming. So who are these people? So first of all, and these are the most visible part of the community that works behind are big companies. And usually we can say that those companies that build your Eclipse projects, these are companies that usually ship software based on Eclipse. But these are also companies that extend Eclipse software with their own tools, with their own extensions. These are companies that offer services, so they may not do any product by themselves, but they may provide trainings, consultancy around the different Eclipse projects. So in general, these are different contributors, adopters, extenders, and any kind of company that makes a business around Eclipse project, at least one. And if you take a look at the image that was taken from one of the previous EclipseCon presentations that shows how many but probably these are not all companies, but these are how many different companies actually contribute to the Eclipse. So these are the big companies, or actually the companies that that build your Eclipse, that work behind and make sure that Eclipse is still working as good as it has always been. So these are big companies, and if any one of you work for a big company, you can probably find your company there. Now, but apart from big companies, there is also a number of individuals who work on Eclipse, either in their free time or they already have some small business around Eclipse. And this is the second group of, let's say, producers of the Eclipse that we know, that make sure that Eclipse is going further. And yeah, in this talk we will we'll discuss this part of the community, so individuals who work on Eclipse in their free time and they have their businesses. So who are these individuals? So these are different peoples, and they usually come as as they find appropriate. So when they have some a customer that approach them, or they feel that they should just want to contribute back to the Eclipse, and those individuals still come in different areas of Eclipse, in Eclipse community, and they appear, and we can see that those new individuals are coming faster and faster. Now, what is the difference between all those different individuals that come to Eclipse? Well, the biggest difference is that some of those individuals are quite successful in a way they are contributing to Eclipse. So they are more successful than others. And actually, quite a few contributors out of those individuals started their own businesses. And you can find that there is a number of contributors that started their own companies, either smaller or bigger, or at the beginning smaller, then they grew up and become big companies. So what is actually the thing that makes a difference between the regular individual that just contributes their time and the efforts to Eclipse, and the contributor and the individual that actually was successful in his contributions? So a quick question: what actually you need to do to be successful when contributing to Eclipse? So assuming that those individuals were good examples, what did they do to become successful? And the answer is quite simple. They followed the path. So if you take a look at different individuals, more of those individuals followed a certain path. Of course, maybe this was unconscious, but then if you take a look and somehow try to pick up the common point, all of those did more or less the same thing through their career with Eclipse. Now, you may ask, what is this path all about? So there's a path, but what's the path about? And the path, and that's the name that I just invented. This is the path of the 3 pillars. So so the 3 pillars is kind of the foundation of Eclipse. So does anyone of you, maybe committers or not, maybe you don't know what are those 3 pillars, most important things that that are the basement, the foundation of Eclipse? Okay, so the first one is meritocracy. So whenever you have a committer, or you have a contributor, or any person who contributed anything to Eclipse, all the reputation, all the knowledge was gathered through the merit that the person, that a given person built by themselves. So the second pillar is transparency. So this pillar makes sure that the merit that the person actually is building is done in a transparent way, so that anyone can track the progress in building the merit. And that applies to everyone in the Eclipse community. So whenever you see someone that has, that is on the PMC, on a board, or anywhere, or is a committer or a contributor, there is always a way to track in a transparent way what the person did to gather the merit. And then there is the third pillar, so the openness, so that the community is open and anyone using transparent way that is publicly available can build their merit. Okay, so these are the three pillars, and the path of the three pillars is actually the path to follow these three, to use these three pillars when building your career. So okay, so assuming you are a regular user, you know what pillars or what path you need to follow. How does actually the process of starting contributing to Eclipse should look like? So first, and I think this is the most important part, you first need to make a decision. So there are a number of people who contribute to Eclipse, but there is no, you cannot see any pattern or path that is the person is trying to follow. So these are more or less random contributions in different areas. So probably these are actually contributions that are needed in a certain moment because of some product delivery or something like that. But in general, if someone wants to build the reputation and the merit around some certain project, then you usually see that there is a continuous effort targeted in a certain direction that is following a certain previously made decision. Okay, so by the time you have a decision, you select a project. Usually those two steps happen in the same time. So you find that one of the Eclipse projects is very interesting. You would like to contribute back by participating in the project. So you decide at the same time when you select the project. So you have a decision. You selected a project. Now you need to start participating in the project. And usually it's good to start from the beginning. So you can use newsgroups, you can use mailing lists, you can use IRC forums, and all the other channels that are usually available to projects to participate in a project in a transparent way. Now, of course, if you are already familiar with the way Eclipse projects are developed, you can already go directly to bugzilla, find a bug, or just pick one of the bugs that are already reported and try to prepare a patch. So that's also fine. If you already know what to do, then it's perfect. Of course, another path that you can take is to start a new project. That's a bit different story, because when you start a new project, then you are automatically then you make a donation of the code, so you became a committer automatically. So we will not discuss this part. We will just discuss the part where you try to start working on an existing project and you try to build your reputation in an existing project. Okay, so you already know what to do. Now a few tips how you should do that, to do that in a most efficient way. So first of all, you need to do your homework. That may be painful, but usually it pays off and in the future. And usually it requires to read some documentation. So for example, how to use Gerrit in a proper way, or what are the requirements specified by the project when committing changes to Gerrit. Or in general, different rules that certain projects try to follow to structurize all the contributions, either by contributors or by committers. Then the next thing, when you already know the basic rules, you may find it appropriate to either open a new bug or prepare a fix for a certain bug. And one of the most common problems that I saw when reviewing bugzillas, when reviewing different bugzilla entries, or when reviewing Gerrit changes, is that there are many concerns applied in one bugzilla entry or in one Gerrit review. And it's confusing because you usually need only one certain bug to be fixed. But then the change that if the change that you submit touches different files, it's not as easy as it could be. So in general, the best practice is to separate concerns. So my advice would be to use as many simple tasks as possible. So the simpler the task is, potentially the smaller the change in Gerrit would be, and so the easier it will be for someone who will be reviewing the change to do the review, and the time between you submitting the fix via Gerrit and the time that when the fix gets merged into repository is shorter. So that's something that I strongly recommend to follow, to separate concerns, either if you write a fix or when you open a new bugzilla entry. And what you need to understand is that there are different acceptance criteria when you participate in different projects. So in some cases, some projects may accept changes that touches different files. For example, you touch file A, but then you try to fix a few typos in B and C, and the committer or the reviewer who will be doing the review thinks it's fine because that this is also going in the right direction, so that's fine. But that's not true in all cases. So usually, if there is no need to touch a file because the file is not directly related. So if you, for example, try to fix a typo in a Java doc in a file that doesn't need to be touched to fix a certain bug, it's better to open a separate bug just to fix a typo and to make a separate small fix for the typo. The effort on your side is not much bigger because you instead of one big commit you push two smaller commits, but then it's really much easier to understand what the fix is all about for someone who is reviewing the change. Okay, the thing that sometimes happens, not always, fortunately, is that sometimes contributors seem to get angry very fast because reviewer said that the patch needs to be somehow improved in one way or the other. So usually, the right path would be just to get common agreement, and then instead of arguing, find the most useful way to go forward and to find common way that it can be fixed. Also, what is related with contributing via Gerrit or bugzilla is that if you are a beginner, if you just start, it's fine to it's fine if you make a mistake, if you need to have several iterations, if you take several reviews for a committer before he pushes your change, and that's all fine as long as each subsequent iteration is closer to the final solution that is acceptable. So it's as many iterations as you need is fine as long as it's approaching the right direction. Okay, so now since you already know you have a project, you know what you want to do, and you know how to do that, you can start actually building your eminence. So you can build your knowledge thanks to the time you spent with the code, reading the code, also maybe reviewing other fixes. The more familiar you get with the code, the more knowledge about the code you can have. And then this is something that you need to show that you already have the knowledge in a transparent way, thanks to those pillars, to prove that you already gathered the knowledge. So you can do that either by valuable commits on bugzilla, either by high-quality patches published via Gerrit, or also by helping others in the project. So all these three, and probably much more, but at least those three, help you build your reputation. So you already have your skills, then you need to build some reputation. So something that you will be able to rely on apart from the knowledge. And of course, whenever, whenever you try to do anything, like contribute new fix, write a comment, help someone else in their own project, you need to take advantage of the 3 pillars. Sorry. Okay, so now an example of a roadmap if you would like to start your career with Eclipse. If you applied correctly, more or less, the steps that we just discussed, you should be a successful contributor. So these are more or less, this is more or less enough information to become a successful contributor. So you are a skilled engineer, you got familiar with the code, you contributed a few successful fixes, you showed your knowledge on bugzilla, you are a successful contributor. And that's where you are at the moment. Now, assuming you would like to do something more, and you would like to become a committer. So again, the first thing that needs to happen is a decision. So some kind of a personal commitment that you want to spend an effort in a certain direction to become a committer on a certain project. So decision is first. The next thing is trying to get a mentor. So you can be a contributor, you can be a successful contributor, and you can have wonderful patches. But then if the patch is, if each of your patches is reviewed by a different person, then you don't have a person that is directly trying to walk you through the process of becoming a committer. So in general, I advise you to get a mentor, usually a committer on the project that you are trying to become a committer, that the person will do the reviews of your fixes. Then you need to work on a network. So apart from the fact that one person, or usually if you have a mentor, usually one person is reviewing your work, but then you need to make sure that other people from the project, so other committers, know what you are doing, why you are doing, that you are passionate about what you are doing, so that they can become part of your network, so they can see the value in you becoming a committer. Of course, by the time you get more experienced, it is somehow implicitly expected that the more fixes you produce, each next fix will be less erroneous, so you will make less mistakes. And the next thing, this is actually something that applies in every, not only in becoming a committer, but applies in many different directions. But you should have the T-shape kind of a technical knowledge. So except for the deep technology knowledge on a certain project, you need to have some at least basic information how the project is used in sibling components, or how it's extended by adopters, or how it's consumed by others. So that's something that you need to be familiar with in order to progress further with the direction that the project will take when you become a committer. Okay, and by the time you become a committer, of course, there's the voting in between the committers that were part of your network, that know you and are familiar with all the information, with all those fixes that you submitted, vote on you, the voting passes, you become a committer. And usually that's where most people finish. So there are a number of people who went through the path from a user to contributor to committer, and then somehow this disappeared. So all the knowledge they gathered, all the reputation, all the eminence that they built on their effort, actually, because they were they were working hard in their free time, in their either in their free time or in their work time. But all this effort that they put into into contributing in a transparent way to get their merit is lost, because they are no longer visible in Eclipse. So the actual thing that should happen is that the knowledge that you gathered is somehow reused, or at least it somehow persists further by the time you became a committer. So the graph, then the roadmap of your career could look like this. That's an example how it should look like or how it could look like. So from a user to a contributor to a committer. But then instead of just staying at the committer level, you can extend what you're doing. And then most of the extensions in one way or the other include starting your own business. And that's usually, if you take a close look, usually these are actually the different roles that those successful contributors or committers actually are following. So you can become a trainer and write tutorials, provide workshops for people so that you can spread the word about Eclipse, so that the whole project, either the project that you are familiar with or the whole Eclipse ecosystem becomes even more successful. You can become a consultant, so you can help quite a narrow group of people solving their own problems, like small companies or students. You can also become a software vendor. So by the time you gathered enough knowledge to become a committer, your knowledge is big enough that you can build your own software, either using the direct project where you are a committer on, or you can build other software, but based on the whole knowledge and the whole information, or the whole, how to say, your participation in the Eclipse ecosystem. And of course, last but not least, you can become an LTS provider. So if you are a committer, then there is, and for some reason, you no longer want to participate actively in a project, but you are still a committer, you can become an LTS provider. And what that means, LTS stands for long-term support, and that more or less means that if someone has a problem or a bug, a critical bug or a regular bug, but if there is a problem in a project that you are a committer on, you can provide a fix for this particular problem to that particular customer affected by this bug for money. So that's a way of making a business based on your reputation and your knowledge. And of course, there are many other ways where you can reuse your knowledge and extend your roadmap, what to do further. Okay, so that's actually how the roadmap should look like. So the main point is that you shouldn't stop at becoming a committer. So becoming a committer is never the final goal. So it's good to be a committer. I encourage you, if you think, or if you at least had one thought that maybe I should become a committer, or I would like to become a committer, I encourage you to do so. But you should really not stop on becoming a committer. That's not the final goal. You can do way more. You can go further, including starting your own business. So now, short summary. So the first thing is that you shouldn't be discouraged too early. So at the beginning, be prepared that there will be many iterations back and forth. The same patch will be submitted several times with different small changes until it gets to the point where it's accepted and can be merged into the Git repository. Then the thing that is actually the most important and shouldn't be lost, so that the domain expertise that you gathered thanks to contributing to the project is your biggest asset. And if you think about starting your own business out of the knowledge that you gathered, the domain expertise that you have is actually the added value that you can bring to your own business. Yeah, you need to reuse the knowledge. So you learned all those stuff, not just to learn to become a committer. You learned because you want to do something more. For example, become a trainer or become a LTS provider or anything else. Now, the thing is that the knowledge that you gathered is actually the fourth pillar. So there are the three main pillars, and the main pillars are there whether you are with Eclipse or not. The fourth pillar is only there as long as you are with Eclipse, because the knowledge is always on your side. You can know it's good to write blogs, wikis, and so on, but this is and it's good to share the knowledge because that's the way you can show your knowledge. But then the owner of the knowledge is always you. So if you already have some knowledge, then I encourage you to start sharing today. So that's today is the best moment to start if you are thinking about starting your committer career. Okay, I guess we have some time for questions. So are there any questions? Yeah.
When you've got a mentor and you've been working on a project and you think you've done enough that maybe it's time that you get considered to be a committer.
Yeah.
Do you ask for it, or do you consult with your mentor and say, what do you think?
Yeah, so usually that's not common for all projects, but usually if someone wants to become a committer on a project, then I suggest that the person should introduce himself or herself via project mailing list, so that everyone that is watching the project knows that John Smith is trying to become a committer and will work very hard and put all his efforts to do that. And then with the mentor, usually, because this is there is no certain moment when you can say that you need 10 or you need 5 or you need 11 bug fixes to be merged. You can of course ask your mentor if this is the right moment, but usually I think that the mentor will know what time is the right time to start the voting. And usually what I heard from other colleagues that are committers, the moment starts at the time when they are tired of reviewing fixes that are of a decent quality. So as long as if you have many commits that are, or many patch submitted to Gerrit that are of decent quality, then sooner or later the reviewer will get tired of reviewing those perfect patches, and they will start voting to just to more, you can say that, to get rid of you as a contributor, so that you can start pushing your fixes on your own.
Just to add one thing, because I'm with the pilot project and we reviewed each other's code even though we are committers, so we never merged anything without actually somebody else looking at it.
Yeah, that's also very good, just to have double check that at least 2 people reviewed the code and they all agreed that that's the way forward. So yeah. Sure.
I remember a couple of years ago there was an award for transparency, I think, for projects. Is that still around? Or
Sorry, could you repeat?
Is there still this kind of award for projects that are very transparent?
I think we do have that, but it's awarded in the US, so
right.
it's once a year.
Okay.
Eclipse comes in March.
Yeah.
Okay, so I haven't heard about it, so that's good to know.
Yeah, it's a good thing, because I made the experience as a contributor that with some projects it's actually much harder to even get your bug looked at or getting commented on than with other projects. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's certainly true. But then that's why we have those tips, so that you can minimize the risk that someone will just not look at the patch because the patch is too big. Even if the actual fix that is needed is quite small, if the patch is too big because you wanted to fix several typos at the same time, then it's the reviewer get discouraged because it's too much to read. So
in my personal experience, that was never a problem. In one project, I committed a patch for it was 3 or 4 lines, I think.
Yeah.
And it just got moved from milestone to milestone, and eventually after a year or so, it got moved to backlog or something. So
yeah.
I expect it will never get applied. So.
That's I think that's some projects are really bad.
Yeah.
You should just push on.
Yeah. Yeah, you should just push and just polite ping on a bug. What if there are any plans to review and so on. So as long as you just ping politely, if someone can review, then it's always fine. You won't get punished. Yeah. So that's that's all you need to do. So just ping if there's any.
Until they get tired of seeing the pings, and then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for example, I also have some patches that are still pending for review, and even if I am already now a committer on the project, since I submitted the patch, I'm still trying to get someone to review the code before before I submit it by myself. So that's what Torkit said. That it's always better to get additional pair of eyes to look through the code to avoid unwanted mistakes later on. Okay. Do you have any more questions? Okay. So thank you very much for listening. If there is any information that was unclear, you can always find us at the IBM booth, so the booth number 15. And I encourage you to step by just to see, what we already have in the offer regarding Bluemix. So that's just if you are interested. So thank you for listening and see you.